everyone. Welcome to yet another episode of Elite CISO's Power Podcast. I am delighted to have Mr. Abhishek Bansal, who is CISO of Max Life, with us today. So, Abhishek, let's start with your quick introduction.
Thank you, Vikas. It's a privilege actually to be on Elite CISO's platform and share my views. A brief introduction: I help Max Life in meeting its business, achieving its business outcomes by managing technology risks and concerns around privacy. I'm also responsible for business resilience as far as my role is concerned. I have done my master's in finance and strategy, post my engineering, and I may say destiny took me to this profession. If I reflect back, in last almost 15 years, it's been a fulfilling journey around moving across the globe, consulting organizations across sectors. Did a bit in public policy as well around again cybersecurity matters, and now I am actually managing a security show in Max Life.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Sounds great. So, offline, we were talking about your passion about building a security culture. So that's what the theme of this podcast is. So help us understand what do you mean by security culture? Because a lot of CISOs, when we talk about, we are primarily talking about the technical controls, policies, procedures, compliances, and all. But talking about security culture, I have not seen many people actively talking about it, and you are passionate about it. So help us understand what security culture is all about.
So, sure. I mean, it's more so, if I may say, I'll just take 30 seconds to kind of reflect why security culture and then possibly delve into the what's of it. So, whenever we see, any kind of CISO talking about or any consultant talking about, there are these three triads which everybody talk about: it's people, process, and technology.
True.
And there is enough focus, if I may say, on newer technology capabilities. How do we hone, fine tune the process? And I would say there is decent enough tilt towards also talking about awareness of people around the space.
True.
But still, at the if I may say, the core of all the issues, what we find is primarily that somewhere the humans are the weak links, or somewhere this is an aspect which needs to be kind of ingrained and embedded.
Right.
And what all of us have been doing, if I may say, if I can speak on behalf of my fraternity as well, is we have been more so talking about effectiveness of the awareness campaigns.
Right.
Can you take a quiz? Can you do today a phishing? Can you do today a smishing? So this is more to do with, let's say, only limited to certain, if I may say, awareness programs.
Mhm.
In certain cases, organizations actually go deep towards, fine, I need to do tailored training programs. So that's where they go ahead with, about training their coders, developers, maybe
Right.
doing a bit of different session for their management. But when I kind of did a further study, if I may say, in this space, not only about the literature, also I did some dipstick within the organization, as well as I kind of aggregated, if I may say, my learnings from my past experiences. You would see there are no certain actions which people demonstrate. So if I may say that typically what we do is, fine, you have been in non-compliance of this policy. This is the disciplinary action which will against which probably an educated note will be issued.
Right.
This is an awareness. This is mandate. On an annual basis, you need to do a quiz.
True.
But underlying, whenever you candid, or whenever actually you are even coaching somebody, the typical answers come by are I'm not aware whether we have a policy on this.
True.
Is this my job? Right? And I have been doing this since ages. Why are you asking me to do something like this? And what wrong I have done?
Right. Right.
So practically, if we delve deep, it is primarily, if I may say, it is about not about the actions and the reactions. It is all about the mindsets.
True. True.
And what drive mindset is, as CISOs, starting from till evening, I think all my friends, including me, we take a lot of decisions around what? Exception approvals. We take a lot of decisions around, okay, what is right, what is not, and we try and help organization that way. But it is not only us who take these decisions.
True.
Decisions are almost taken by almost everybody in the organization in their capacity of their role.
Right.
Now, how do the take these decisions
Mhm.
is something which can be really motivate. So it is about how do you modulate the behavior behind
Right.
is something whereby when you are not policing them, if I may say,
True.
they act and react in certain way and manner. That's
Absolutely.
what actually motivated me to kind of look into this cultural aspect and how we can build on it and go about by it.
Makes sense. Makes sense. So it's a very, very nice thought. So what I think about is that okay, in our organization, let's say a large organization, there is only one CISO. Okay, why not every employee is a CISO of their own laptop or desktop, what they are using? If they have that kind of mindset, if we can drive that, okay, you are responsible for your box. I mean, then we can change all the problems we have in the industry. So it all comes
Absolutely.
with the behavior, with the culture of the organization. So you really pointed out pretty well on that. That okay, it's all about behavior that one has to understand around this. Great. Now talking about culture, the awareness, security trainings, which are mandatory. Sometimes these trainings are very monotonous. So you look at the screen and then you go through a automated training. I'm not sure how effective they are. But talking about security culture, is it top driven? Is it something that board of directors have to drive, or is it the CEO comes in a town hall and mandate everybody? Okay, this is now our security culture. So is it top driven, or how does it work?
So the way I see it is, I know definitely there is a huge role which leadership has to play, but
Right.
I see primarily the way we as CISOs choose the language which we speak, how we motivate people around, and how we actually drive the influence around. So the
Right.
first job lies in, I would say, I mean, nobody does wrong in their own capacity. They're doing righteous in, are they really doing, and know how do you motivate them towards it. So the way I see uh, this is more of an imperative and how you drive towards that imperative. So
Right.
when it comes in as a first step, definitely how you completely frame that issue with respect to the leadership and the top management, and you tell them why this is important. Right? I mean, I know there is a very old analogy which talks about brakes in the cars, and so, but how do you explain them in a very simplified manner? I would say as trivia concepts as, even if I may say, password change,
True.
what it will entail, even in their large decisions when it comes to, let's say, even an M&A.
Mhm.
So it is all about that. No, this is not a bolt-on. This is basically an inline what you need to do, and I'm there to help you. So if you would have seen me also when I kind of introduced, I did not see, I did never mention that. No, I do strategy to operations. I create policies. I create. So this is no, almost with everybody. All the CISOs would be doing no, either VPAT or security operations or all of this in line.
Right.
But the way we should all be orchestrating this is that I am not basically there to block you. I am actually the reason why you are able to run fast. And I am the one who is going to help you as part of achieving the outcomes. So
Absolutely.
we need to strike a fine balance, if I may say, telling them what's went wrong and how even the enterprises have shattered just because of small issues and things. So that's where that, if I may say, that top-driven comes in. And then it is not there itself. You should not stop the buck there itself. It is moreover, throughout the year inline, how do you drive it?
Right.
So we always end up actually giving disciplinary notes or educatory notes to people who are non-compliant. But how often do we end up actually appreciating the right culture?
Very true.
Right.
Very true.
So it's about whether no, uh, from an I didn't do it culture to an openness culture. Can people forthrightly come towards you and tell that fine, this is something which has been wrong, or this is something which I feel suspicious. Do you think it is right? And that makes the life a lot more easier. As I said, no, it is multiplying the hands of a CISO and actually ingraining that as part of the risk culture itself in the organization. So I see this uh, as a transformational initiative whereby how you can kind of change the way people are behaving. We can extrapolate it to any level. Right?
Right.
As country India, we have an Indian culture. The way we as Indians behave. So I'm actually, this is much more than an awareness. It is
Absolutely.
how Indians behave, or probably how a family behaves. Is it's something which is ingrained over years. It is not done in a very short span of time. So that's where we can kind of see through it. Delving in the organizations as well.
Right, right. Makes sense. In the COVID times right now, everybody's working from home, so you cannot build a culture now that okay, let's practice security now, let's ensure that okay, employees are aware of security risk and everything. It is not something that you can do immediately. It's part of your culture that you should have been driving. So now once you are in a COVID kind of situation, employees are aware what kind of risks are there to the organization, how do you keep yourself secure and your organization secure. So yeah, pretty much in line with you what you're saying. Now talking about the benefit, right? Because culture cannot be built easily, so you have to spend a lot of time and effort, lot of people, lot of teams have to
All right.
collaborate with
Yeah.
each other, right? So what are the benefits? Are organization going to get any benefit out of implementing and investing a lot of time into it?
Of course. So I see this as the holy grail, if I may say, of complete transformation, or no one being basically bringing that radical change in the organization. Right. And why I say so is typically, again, if you reflect, almost we do it every year or every 2 years or 3 years. Everybody creates what is called a strategy. Right? We typically do a dipstick. We identify that to find in technology capabilities, we are, let's say, at certain level, and we want to mature it to certain level. We keep on fine tuning the process, optimize it. People do follow some quality, implement it. At the day end, we create a strategy, right? And we kind of divide it into small programs and implement it. But what happens then, right? There are still people, despite having policies, who would do hard-coded passwords. There's still people who would like to kind of bypass certain things just for maybe convenience.
True.
Right? So how do you motivate them to do that thing right when nobody is kind of watching? Sustainable. I see this as stable, right? And I'm not talking about something very rigid. So culture is, as you said, it is to be formulated over the period of time, based on basically what's the environmental context and how do you modify yourself slowly, is something which is going to reap benefits. Uh, a very simple example: if people are going to be really practical and possible, right? And even if one creates a policy or a rule book to that T, whether even if you move 1 inch, you have a rule book, it's going to create an overhead in terms of even either a compliance burden, or it becomes too difficult to kind of follow through. So
Right.
it is more of how do I take those actions. So companies would definitely are going to benefit out of it, in the long run. And I don't only see this as basically something which will reap benefits 5 years down the line. There are small wins and quick wins which immediately start. Right? It's all about that. People start appreciating the way you react and how you would actually either hold them accountable or look into it as, nutshell, if I may say, it is not about a transactional solve but a structural solve.
Right.
That and we can draw principles to any of the baselines what we draw. Whether it is segregation of environments, passwords, or even when we are talking about people moving from traditional VAPTs to, let's say, DevSecOps. When you're actually passing this from a security tester to a developer, it's a cultural.
True.
Now, a developer has an inherent bias to move things to production fast.
True.
Now, if you are motivating him to actually say no, moving to production fast is definitely one of the key criteria for you. But moving it right, it's also, because if something goes wrong, your entire delivery can go to the N-1 release.
True. True.
So that's where it has benefits across. Is my strong bias around this.
Right. Very rightly said. Now, how do you define a good security culture? What are the key success factors that okay, every organization has got different opinion about security cultures. But once you look at one organization and you say, okay, this organization has got a great security culture. So what are the things that you look into that?
So I would not qualify it because as a great security culture or a good security culture. It is all about, and it is also to do a lot with the organization values.
Right.
And how does, and as a CISO, when we are trying to do this, when we are either influencing the top leadership or educating basically the peers or creating awareness for masses, unless and until we tie it down to organization values, it's not going to be sustainable.
True, true.
The only thing what we really need to look into is what's the right behavior. And the right behavior is more so, would come by when people are more transparent.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really resulting into, let's say, a closed loop where no people. So it is something like this. If I may say, almost everybody would have faced this. Why people are so shy away from auditors?
Mm-hmm.
Because what they feel is auditors would come, they will pick on you, and they will actually table this to the topmost management, and you will
Right.
look like a bad fellow.
Right, right.
So they typically completely remain reserved, and you have to really push a lot of energy, or maybe sometimes do tricks with them, if I may say, to extract basically, okay, fine, this is what is wrong or right.
Yeah.
So I would not qualify culture as a good or bad, but I would qualify it with more so, let's say, attributes. So one is openness and transparency is one of the key attributes which I have personally by, and they have said, fine, this is a wrong email which I've been able to ship. What should I do? I know how we can curtail the damage. And what we have done is fine. Instead of asking them why you have shared this, we started rewarding them. So that's where you kind of start doing this is more of openness and transparency. I don't want people to be experts in their own forthright and not take decisions on their own. It is more about awareness of the right behavior, right? Because the tech solutions are evolving. The ecosystem is evolving, as you were rightly mentioning about pre-COVID eras with our post-COVID eras. Now, no big brother is, if I may say, is watching you when you are actually utilizing that asset from home.
Right.
So how do you take care of it and plugging out what the USPs are? So then it's all about that right behavior in terms of doing the right things right for the first time, rather than actually doing things or just getting things done. So that's where the fine line or the subtle line comes by when we motivate them during all of this, and how we kind of map it, that it is more customer oriented behavior, if I may say, the moment you act in this way. So automatically the business teams start looking your policies and procedures in a way that how I am actually benefiting the customer more, rather than as a regulatory stake to kind of imbibe that.
Right.
It is more caring towards your employees and family members. So what typically I do as one of the things is, whilst I'm explaining them some of these fundamentals of security, I give them examples of the live fraud individuals, and they can happen at your own place for you. So, right, I mean, without being any bias with a particular organization, so we have seen a lot of these, KYC scams, online fraud scams, like man-in-middle attack, where somebody can spoof you, and all of those things. You just put them actually in the light of their own individual interest. They start correlating things.
Absolutely.
So that's where I see this as more to do with more openness, doing things right. And that's what it is. So it is nothing wrong or nothing. So it is not like one country's culture is better than other country's culture, or one family's culture. So same ways is no organization culture is better than others, but it is how do you drive more transparency, because that's what we want. And
yeah, so I've seen in some organizations there's a security culture month, and that security culture month starts before the audit. So when there is going to be ISO audit or any external audit, then before that they conduct the security awareness sessions, the town halls and everything. So what you're saying that it is not something which is audit driven, it is something that you practice day in and day out, because security is not only impacting organizations, but it is impacting individuals as well in their personal life. So they have to imbibe this culture within themselves, right? Great insights. Now tell me, I mean, if a organization, let's say a CISO joins in an organization and he sees that there is no security culture per se, or the culture that he does not like. So what do you recommend? How does one start with a security culture for an organization, which is going to eventually benefit the security program as well as the organization, right? So what are your key inputs for that?
So again, I would not say whether it's a new CISO or an old CISO, the challenges are the same.
Right.
And it is not about, and I would say that everybody would have somewhere in some corner in the mind different perspectives.
True.
whether you call it organization, whether you call it CISOs, they would always feel I don't have the right team. I don't have basically, right management support. I am not getting budget for what I'm looking at. And meanwhile, people on the other side would always see you as roadblockers. They would not see you as somebody who is enabling business.
True.
So primarily, when we say that culture is nothing but a muscle memory within the organization, it is like while you're driving and automatically the gears are changing and the steering goes off. So that's a similar thing what needs to be emulated, and we really need to do our role. It is I call it as 3 C's for a CISO, and the 3 C's, the way I see it is a champion, a collaborator, and a challenger role. Like, prima facie, we do act as challengers. So we always push in the status quo and we really say, are you doing this right? I mean, this is not the way this has to be done. Right? This port has to be blocked. You can't share the files. You did not come to me for this approval before this was moved to delivery or open. So we do the challenger role quite well. And that has to continue. I'm not saying when I'm talking about culture that either by any capacity that we have to kind of tone down any of the other areas or elements. But how do we push in the effectiveness is something which also comes in when we play that role as a champion. How do we create some of, if I may say, non-negotiable behaviors and draw the baselines? So that's utmost important in defining that this is an acceptable behavior. So because somebody who is not really from that security background, they would and understand something like this. If I don't know what is wrong, I will feel it is right and I'll commit it that way. So that kind of baseline and non-negotiable behavior definitely has to be identified, but it has to be defined in a way the way they understand. It is not to be defined in a way that you need to do an encryption of so many bits, and then they struggle of, okay, fine, where the encryption has to be done, or why the password is 8 characters long or 9 characters long, and why are you asking me to use alphanumeric? So the moment we actually give this in a small piece or a bite, so that's where the role of a champion would come in terms of defining those baselines, in terms of defining basically all those non-negotiables.
True.
As a champion, we also need to have a role of a coach. So when I say coach, can I really educate, if I may say, people to kind of build some sort of risk and security perspective? Start seeing things from the way we look at it. So if I may say, you look into use case, but you also look into misuse case. So you are the process champion or you are the business function champion. How do you look into it? So I spoke about challenger. We all do very well, whether we do it as part of security testing, we do it as part of, let's say maybe doing as part of exception approvals and all that. So that's the role very well we all do. There are people who also do a role of what I say championing, but championing would require a little notch up in terms of coaching and hand-holding rather than only dictating the dictats. The third is about being more of a collaborator. So you make actually them as co-owner and start actually giving them also a little bit more accountability. So what I mean by that is, one is you do risk assessments annually. Can they really partner with you? I know, as process, everybody says it, you pass on to the business function and does it, but it becomes more of a lip service and an Excel sheet exercise. Right. But what I'm asking for is more of a risk control self-assessment on a continual basis. If you see something suspicious, can you come to this group for seeking help? And that's how you kind of build that confidence and collaborate. Give them that room enough for driving some joint initiatives, whether it is with HR, whether it is with operations, whether it is with IT. So what kind of joint initiatives we can do for larger structural solve rather than transactions? Right. Fair enough. If one transaction has gone through DLP and it was wrong, let's look into the root cause. But if there are multiple such, what should be done? Should I really change the DLP policy itself? Or should I really now walk along with you to fine tune and make finer rules for it so that we can identify if somebody is acting malicious? Right. So it's not only that I will not change. I'm also ready to change, but let's collaborate and move through this together. So the moment these 3 C's are fulfilled to an extent, or even we start walking towards them, I think that's where the start comes in. Everybody starts appreciating the work you do. They start walking besides you, and that's where this culture starts building in. So it is no silver bullet that no, you do these 5 steps and the culture is built, but it is more of realizing our role with these three C's is no, my view on this.
Absolutely, absolutely. Great insights, Abhishek. I'm glad that we talked about the security culture. And you multiple time mentioned about we are not a showstopper, right? We are there to ensure that organization remains secure, collaborate, and get the process going. So there's a great analogy which I refer most of the time. So that is why there are brakes in the car. The brakes are not there in the car to stop it or slow it down. It is there to make the car go faster, so that when it is required you can put the brakes on. So that's how security is. What I believe, that okay, we are the enabler, we want the organization to remain secure. And then as you rightly pointed out, there are various things we can do or a CISO can do to develop a security culture. So great insights, Abhishek, thanks a lot. I'm sure like we post all our videos to security community, they are going to benefit from your wisdom, and people may reach out to you over LinkedIn to get more insights into it. Thanks a lot for getting on the call today morning.
Thank you, Vikas. Thank you. We enjoyed interacting with you.